So I'm the director of our advanced manufacturing programs. And I am located in Kissimmee, where we have an entire 17,000 square foot hands-on training laboratory that we utilize to teach career and technical education. Right down the road, Valencia College Lane is the School of Public Safety, where we have our Fire Institute, our Police Institute, Certified Medical Assistant, and a couple other programs. So the opportunity today to come in here and talk about career and technical education as a pathway to success is phenomenal. Because what I want to talk to you about is how we can take those stories we were just listening to. We all know the numbers. $1.5 trillion in debt. 43 million civilians owe student loans. I'm one of them. I'm down to my last 8,000. Woo-woo! Okay? The reality of the world is that, especially for folks in this room, if you're going to be an educator, you probably got a student loan debt somewhere. But as you look at what our children are doing, look at Central Florida, it's expensive to go to college. And the reality of my world, not every student qualifies for financial aid. And that's just a fact. And those students that don't qualify for that financial aid are racking up the money, they're racking up the student loans, because we tell them when they start. My kids started third grade here in Central Florida, and the first thing I noticed when we walked into his classroom, we're in part of the AVID program. What did that mean? That third grade is inundated with the demand to go to a four-year school. You have no choice. You're going to a four-year school. It's on the wall. There's not even banners from two-year schools. They're all from four-year schools. I walked in with a Valencia pennant. Here, put one of ours up, please. Yeah, whatever. Come on. We start our kids off as early as kindergarten with the thought they've got to get a four-year degree. And what winds up happening? They come to Valencia, they go to Seminole, they go to one of the two-year schools to start. Awesome program, Direct Connect to UCF. Fantastic. But what really happens? You heard it today. Daniel talked about it. The folks with the biggest student loan debt are the ones that drop out. Why do they drop out? Because they shouldn't have been here to start with. I went to college for one reason and one reason only. Because I knew I wanted to commission the United States Army. If I wasn't going for a commission in the United States Army, I would have joined my dad at the water company and dug ditches for my life. That's the only reason I went to school. That was it. But I had a plan. How many kids come in today without a plan? So let's talk about what we really need to think about. As I said, we all know the numbers. 1.5 trillion in student loan debt. We are saddling students coming out of four-year schools. Four-year school, it takes them 6 years to complete. With 35,000, mid-30s student loan debt they start out with. They're getting crushed. So what I'm here to talk about today is a different outcome, a different pathway to start a career and to get an education. Because we all know that attainment of educational degrees equals financial stability and economic security. That's a fact. No one will ever dispute that. So how do I get you there in a career in technical education, accelerated skills format? Let me tell you a story. Monday morning, a very large Department of Defense contracting company, manufacturer, right here in Central Florida, starts with an L for the first word, second word starts with an M. You figure it out from there. They came in, smart one there. That's why she's in the front row. They came in Monday and interviewed 10 of my electronic board assembly students. As we sat listening to the keynote, I got an email. They made a job offer today to 9 out of 10. You want to talk about putting people on a pathway to success? Let's be real. Because what's Lockheed going to do for them? Oh, I said it. What's Disney going to do? What's Amazon going to do? What's Walmart going to do? They're going to pay for their tuition to get their degree. How much did those students pay to take that electronic board assembly class? Try again. Anybody else want to guess? Nope. Zero. They qualified for assistance through Career Source Central Florida. They qualified for assistance through one of our other community partners, or they received the Valencia Foundation Scholarship. Those 10 students paid zero for their education. In my current class of 75 students, only 10% of them have paid anything out of pocket for their education. They're graduating on average with a student debt of $70. Think about that for a minute. What's that mean economically? Juan's going to graduate next Thursday. Took a 22-week course. He's playing hooky this week. Why is he playing hooky? Because it's orientation at his new job. He's making $27.70 an hour. Straight time. No overtime. It's $57,000 a year. Not a bad gig for a 22-week program. So let's talk about what we're really doing down there and how we're doing it. 24% of our well-paying jobs require more than a high school diploma but less than a bachelor's degree. That's just a fact. That's straight out of the Workforce Playbook. Everyone knows the Aspen Institute. Valencia is the inaugural winner of the Aspen Institute Award. They just published the Workforce Playbook this week, which features our Valencia Accelerated Skills programs and how we do career and technical education through the Valencia system. Less than a bachelor's degree, and I can start you off on a career. That's important because I'm going to talk to you later about this pathway that we've built with the college, with the credit side, and how we move students from short-term accelerated skills training, entry-level positions, to management level with a bachelor's degree, and the genius of the system we've set up here. Challenges. They asked me to talk about some barriers with non-traditional students. I've got them all. Ladies and gentlemen, my youngest student is 17 years old. My oldest was 71. 71 years old, he wanted to learn CNC machining. Okay, come on. Average age right now of my students is 34.7 years old. All ages come through the program. So when I look at the top challenges that face them, work, they've all got to work. 62% of my students have a part-time or full-time job. And our programs are set up as a job. They go to school Monday through Thursday for 7 hours. It's short term, but it's quick, it's hard. That's a full-time job. They all have a part-time or a full-time job they work at as well, because they still got to provide for their families.
Monday through Thursday, 7 to.
So I do day and night, so Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 2:30, or Monday through Thursday, 3 to 10. Paying expenses, we heard it earlier. Most of our community college students have some sort of insecurity. This is from the 2018 Real College Report. 18% are homeless. I've got kids in my program that are sleeping around the corner in the car that I take them to the St. Cloud Food Pantry to help them out, to make sure they can make it. Food insecure, housing insecure. You heard him talk about the affordable housing here in Central Florida. Now, he and I were going to disagree about a bunch of stuff he said, because I got a pathway to make you successful. You don't have to work a minimum wage job in this county, in Central Florida, because I can put you in above minimum wage. Family and friends is the number 3 challenge for our non-traditional students. My average age is 34 years old. They're all married. They've all got kids. They have life. So one of the things that you must account for with the students that come through our programs, career and technical education programs, is life, because something's going to happen. We average a 93% completion rate. Once they start the program, they're going to complete it. The only ones that drop out is because of some sort of family emergency or they got a job. That's it. Family and friends are what their barrier is. That's what stops them from completing the program. So, what is the program and what's the pathway to success? Well, because, we are who we are and we do what we do. I'll show you a quick video.
I wholeheartedly believe that's what Valencia College program is doing here today.
At Valencia College, a new foundry of knowledge is preparing students for the future of manufacturing, where hands-on meets high-tech in learning environments based on advanced real-world technologies, and programs co-developed by professionals in the field. Our advanced manufacturing programs align with national industry standards, producing a wealth of employment opportunities for graduates. It's certified in different fields, including electronic board assembly, CNC computer numerical control, mechatronics, welding technology, Six Sigma, and lean manufacturing.
Lindsay's advanced manufacturing training program is helping keep Florida competitive for future jobs and new businesses by developing highly skilled workers to support our future workforce.
It's not only just for a job, it's for a career. And a career with companies like Blue Ivy, like Tesla, like SpaceX, Blue Origin. These are all companies that are breaking ground. And it is an amazing opportunity to even be here and share the same air with something that's going to be so explosive in the future. And I'm proud to be here.
Earn your certification in as little as 4 months without a prior degree, diploma, or industry experience. Welcome to the college program you were made for.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm biased. It's all about my manufacturing programs. I paid for the video. I'm going to show it. We've got a whole bunch of programs I'll talk about in a minute, but that's the coolest one we've got. So we're talking about a pathway to success. So let's talk about what we do. The whole genesis of the organization and the programs that we have. About 6.5 years ago, Dr. Sugar, one of the most incredible visionaries I've ever met in my life, said we've got to fill a gap, and that gap is workforce development training. And he came back with a vision for accelerated skills programs. We started out right here, East Campus in the School of Public Safety. And what we did was based on short-term training, but it was in a classroom. We go out every couple of weeks. We do some partnership with local companies. We do some hands-on training. And then we got the facility in Kissimmee. Osceola County said, hey, we'll do a partnership with you. It's 17,000 square feet. Part of it you saw in the video. It flipped everything we were doing to a hands-on environment. Our population deals that way. So you talk about pathway to success, and I'll come to the key point later on. It's collaboration with industry, with community, with our fellow college instructors and faculty and staff of what we're doing. So let's talk about what we do. Accelerated skills training programs. It's in the name, short term. Our shortest program is 4 weeks. Our longest is 22 weeks. It is a variety of programs, and I'll talk about all of them here more in just a minute. The idea is that students are brought in. We treat the program as if you were going to a job. Day one, when you walk in the door, we tell you in orientation, today starts your job interview. Because I'm going to recommend those students to a company. I'm going to recommend them to a partner to start their careers. I refer them to the company that's going to match up with them. So if they're late, if they're unprofessional, if they're not a good team player, they might not get the best recommendation or referral to a company. We try from day one to build a good employee. That's what our partners have asked us to do. Classes are all hands-on and high-tech. We have the best equipment in our manufacturing center. We have the best equipment in all of our programs that you're going to find because industry plays a part in what we're doing, and they help us get the best stuff that we need. The goal is when our students graduate, they know what's going on in industry because they're taught the industry standards, and they've seen the equipment. I'm not just creating button pushers. We're making machinists. We're not just creating someone who knows about welding. Our kids coming out are actual welders who are going to work at Galaxy's Edge. Project Big Bird, I've had 6 kids over there the entire time that was being created, welding students. The joy of what we do, because again, we have students come in the program who have never held a wrench before in their lives. After I tell them today start your job interview, the next thing we do is teach them how to read a tape measure. They don't know how to do that, let alone even think about the idea of taking a fraction and turning it into a decimal or a decimal into a fraction. So there's a lot of remedial math that goes into it. But because of the way we structured all of our programs, students have the opportunity to earn national and international certifications, industry-recognized certifications. So a student will get a module in hydraulics, and they will take a nationally recognized certification exam in hydraulics, fluid power level 1. And that goes on their resume. And our partners understand what that certification means. They've seen our curriculum. They voted on our curriculum to make sure it met their standards. Collaboration on curriculum. I have program advisory boards for each one of my programs across all the AST programs. Here's where you're going to get a little bit envious. Where you are, continuing education, we get a little bit more flexibility in our curriculum. So if I got a partner that comes in and says, hey, Mike, we've changed how we do this. We've changed how we solder. We're not doing through-hole, we're doing surface now. Here's the new technique. I'll go to my other 7 partners and say, hey, look, here's what we want to bring into the program. What do you think? They all say yes. We bring their trainers in. We teach our instructors. The next day, it's in the program. That's how quickly adaptable and agile we are to what industry's asking us to do. Why? Because I want to start them out on a career pathway. It's about being into a career. So we use industry collaboration. I have way more flexibility than you're ever going to have on the credit side of the school. I love it. Workforce educational training and certification is what we do. What I really want to talk about is this. And here's where I really want to get into a lot of the program. So skilled workforce trained and educated on industry standards. I work with all of them. I work with the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida to every major partner in Florida. We've employed students from the Space Coast to Tampa. I've got kids that have taken jobs in Chicago, Seattle. One young man right now outside of Houston, Texas, welding on pipelines and oil rigs. So they've literally been hired across the country coming out of the program. High skill, high wage. We heard the conversation earlier about affordable housing, minimum wage. We talk about one thing when we talk to our partners: family sustainable income, because we know that's a barrier. In Central Florida, we all talk about $15 an hour. That's the minimum. That's what we talk to partners about. Now, can I make a partner change their? No. It's driven by the unions in some of them. But we can have those conversations. And if you're a company only offering 13, I've got a company just like it offering 18. You don't fill your gaps, you figure out why. So the most important thing is high skill, high wage, industry standards, but then it is this pathway. It's an educational pathway to an associate and bachelor's degree. And we'll talk a little bit here how we do that. So we talk about educational attainment. We talk about what's most important. Well, it's important for students to be able to have a pathway to success. Because what does success mean? Promotions, more money, better life for my family. And in the case of our students, it's a generational changer. Because if you're 37 years old and you're unemployed and you've got 3 children at home and they watch their dad come into the program as a Valencia College student, because all of our students, we broke the code and every one of them was a Valencia College student with an ID card. That, believe it or not, that was a fight. But we broke the code, we got it done. They see their dad graduate as a Valencia College student and start with a good paying job. You've changed his 3 kids. You've changed the outcome of their life. And that's what we look at. It's providing a pathway to associate and bachelor degree programs. How do we do that? Well, it's Valencia. Valencia is the greatest institution in the world, second to the Army. Educational pathway to success. I will start you out as a high entry-level worker with a technical certification, short-term accelerated training programs. And everyone's got a sheet. You got handed a sheet when you came in, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. Every one of our current programs articulates into college credit in an AS degree at Valencia College. Our programs are built specifically with the idea to articulate into an associate program. As I develop new programs, I look at the credit side to figure out which AS I can go into. So when they started coming out with the energy management control technician, I was right there talking about our mechatronics program. Let's integrate. Sit down with Deb Hall and her team. Let's integrate. Let's make this articulate into your program. Because it's a pathway for our students. So as I develop my new certified technician in supply chain automation, I'm talking to James McDonald at the Osceola campus about the new program he's creating in supply chain logistics and how we articulate credit directly into his program so that students have a pathway of success. Every one of our programs in the manufacturing world articulates into an AS for management and supervision of industry. Makes sense, right? They're all in industry. They also articulate into other programs, construction and the building technologies, I'll get my welding into building technology is my next goal. That's going to happen. They all articulate. Associate degree. What's the best part about the companies in Central Florida? You know what the number one drawback for Army recruiting is today? Disney, Amazon, Walmart. And why do I say that? What's the number one attraction to join the military? It's the GI Bill. When Disney joins up with the Aspire program, when Walmart says you can go to college for $1 a day, when Amazon says we'll pay for your school, it's going to impact recruiting for the Department of Defense. When Disney announced the Aspire program, I had a long conversation with DoD recruiting at the Pentagon because it's going to impact what they're doing. Because now you can come here free. Your company's going to pay your tuition to get your associate degree. And as you get your degree, what does that mean? It means you're getting promoted, you're making more money. So you do your AS degree here at Valencia. And what's the joy about Valencia? What's the genius of the Valencia system? Let's roll out a bachelor's program. So now we have the bachelor's program for business administration and organizational leadership. My AS degree goes right into that. So now you start out in a hands-on program, career technical education, with a pathway to a bachelor's degree, with a student debt of $70. $70. Because your company's going to pay that bill. So you want to talk about barriers to financial aid and financial success going to college? You start with a CTE program, you start in a career, you've got a pathway. That's the genius of Valencia. There's a pathway to your success right here. So as I talked about earlier, all of our programs articulate into something here at Valencia. Every one of them has different. We sit down, we do the review boards with the program advisors, with those deans. We go through the credits. The joy of Valencia, if you bring articulated credit over from our programs, you don't have to pay for those credit hours. There's yours for free. So if you graduate welding level 1 and level 2, you got 24 college credits you've already got. Why is that important? Because I had a young lady come into the welding level 1, level 2 program who already started her AA degree. All of her gen ed was already done. When Iris graduated welding level 2 last June, she had 2 classes to take at Valencia. 2. She graduated in May with her AS degree in supervision and management industry. Generational changing. Iris was single mom, car, mom's couch, friends. Today she's working at Titan Motorsports making race cars, making the intakes, making the manifolds. She's making dragsters as a welder. She's also getting ready to have her own show at the Osceola Arts Council because she's a sculptor and an artist with her welding degree, with her welding skills. Life-changing. So students coming through our programs are looking at these AS degrees, and we bring the program advisor in. We talk about how they articulate the credit, and then we talk about how they're doing it. Doc, I'll give you a story. Doc was a young man, as an Air Force veteran. He was special police in the Air Force, which really meant he sat on the ramp all day and did nothing. Got out of the Air Force. Anybody Air Force? All right. But they know what I mean. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Doc gets out. Doc thinks he's going to use his GI Bill to go to one of those third country island nations to get his doctor's degree. So I called him Doc. So he goes down to third world country, get his doctor, comes back with his official diploma. It wasn't recognized by the American Medical Association. It wasn't recognized by the doctors up here. Took a 22-week program with us. Got a job starting at $50,000 a year. Within 6 months, they paid for his next associate's degree. They sent him to Germany for specialized training. They're now paying for his bachelor's. They promoted him to operations manager, and he's making $88,000 a year. That was a year and a half ago. Look, you want to talk about being in the wrong career? I put these kids in school. How do you think I feel? I'm here to tell you, it's brutal sometimes. So when you talk about how to do this with little financial impact to students and how we do this. And I got it. There's a lot of kids out there that are going to go and they're going to get a degree right off the bat because that's the path they want. But there's also the ones that we all know that walk in the front door of any one of our buildings that isn't really there. They need to go out and find life first. My brother couldn't have gone to school until he got done with his time in the Marine Corps. He needed to go get beat up in Parris Island before he went to college, or he wouldn't have made it. Literally, he wouldn't have made it. Not because he's a dumb kid, he's a smart kid, but he wouldn't have made it if he'd gone straight to college. So there's other pathways, and that's kind of what the message is today. When you start talking about financial literacy and how you impact it, career and technical education. Because the other thing that we incorporate in all of our programs is actual financial literacy classes. We teach them how to balance a checkbook. We bring Addition Financial down twice to talk to every class, the beginning and the end. Why? Because when you go from $0 an hour to $22 an hour, that is a big impact. Okay? So everything articulates, everything builds up into that bachelor's degree. Everything through the career and technical education program is about getting folks into a career with a pathway to continue building upon their success. And that's the joy of the programs.
Did you say financially will pay for this? Or
No, so right now, great question. So right now, because we are continuing education, we are not financially eligible because of how we run the programs. However, if your local congressman or legislature in D.C. passes the new Jobs Act, in there is language to open up Pell Grants to our programs.
So we know, I know you said this at the beginning, but I didn't write it all.
So at the beginning, so right now,
If a student needs help financially,
so we have several different partners from Career Source Central Florida, because let's face it, in Central Florida, most folks are going to meet one of Career Source's barriers. That's just a fact with the population that we have here. So Career Source Central Florida, I've got community partners, numerous organizations that will participate in doing scholarships to pay for tuition assistance, as well as we've had some companies donate money through the Valencia Foundation.
so if a student's interested in,
If a student's interested, all they got to do is call a recruiter. And you'll see that here. If not, I've got all the flyers in the world I'll give to you with the recruiter's numbers on it.
I have someone that's interested, so that's why I'm trying to learn.
Yeah. So we have ways for them to help pay for the tuition. Okay? Very few of our students have to pay that cost by themselves. But some do. I mean, I had a guy drive from California. I had a kid learn about our welding program. He lived in California. Watched a video about our welding instructor online. He drove from California to Orlando, Florida, paid cash money to take level 1 and level 2 because he knew the kind of education he was going to get.
And the times are the same for any of those programs?
Yes, ma'am. 7:30, 2:30, 3 to 10. So, articulation. Whoops, wrong way, Mike. So, final thoughts, and then I'll kind of close it down. Collaboration is key. I can't do what I do without the industry partners, without knowing the people that are going to pay for tuition, without being able to refer you to the right people. Also with our curriculum and how we do that. Community needs. We don't come up with this on our own. I've got the city of Orlando wanting to talk right now about renewable energy and what programs can we build in an accelerated skills fashion to continue growing Orlando as the center of clean energy across the nation. Within the institution, by that I mean Valencia College. I cannot do what I do without the support of the credit side. I cannot do what I do without collaboration with deans and professors and program advisors to show us how we can do better articulation agreements. It truly takes me to work with you and you to work with me so we can take our students all the way through the Valencia brand to a 4-year degree. Resources are critical because there's not a lot of them. And again, I'll just end it with that. Pathway for our residents in Central Florida to their economic stability and financial security is through their educational attainment. I feel like I've led a blessed life. I got to serve in the Army for a long time. I get to work at Valencia College changing lives, and I graduated from UCF. That's a pretty blessed life. I know what Central Florida can do for someone. But through our work together, continue adding credit side, we're going to fundamentally change what Central Florida looks like in the next 5 to 7 years. So with that being said, I am done. Any questions?
You have the slide for who the student calls if they're interested in these programs?
I will hand you Can I set this down or I got to keep it in my hand? Sure. Thank you. Don't fall. Somewhere. You know what? I don't know where I put them. Somewhere. I don't know where it is. I'm not that smart. Here, I got it. I hope I don't screw up your guys' wires. So if you just take, that'll work right there.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
I saw that you were going to have some programs at the downtown campus, because I know getting.
Absolutely.
It could be a problem for a lot of folks that live
Yeah.
in that area around our new campus.
So when you talk about accelerated skills programs and what Dr. Seeger's vision was 6 years ago, his goal for us is to serve 5,000 students. You just throw them on the table. If they want to take them, they can. There's a bunch of different program flyers in there. My recruiter said, here, take this box with you and go. If you look at what we're doing, his goal is for us to serve 5,000 students a year in accelerated skills. Now, we think we've walked him down to a more manageable number because I've only got the 2 buildings. But what we're doing, you see it as you talk about with the downtown campus. So as you look at what's going on in downtown, we're also going to bring a new manufacturing center downtown. So we're going to open up behind the Marriott a brand new facility. We're going to taking over one of the old facilities, but a new manufacturing center that is going to take our mechatronics, our electronic board assembly, and our logistics classes into downtown Orlando. So the other thing about that is right now today at Up Orlando, which is literally 2 miles from the downtown campus, I'm teaching an apartment maintenance technician class. So we're also using classroom space from other partners in town to bring more programs into that downtown footprint. So we're partnered with Up Orlando, Second Harvest Food Bank, the apartment communities down there to bring more of those programs into classroom spaces downtown to open that access. Because for a student in Point Siena, it's easier to get on the Sunrail in Point Siena to bring it to the main station in downtown Orlando than it is to take 7 buses to get to my facility in Kissimmee. It's a fact. So that's how we're opening up that access. There's more. We're working long-term 5-year plan where we're going to go next. But we're going to keep growing these programs and going to other locations. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
I know financial aid won't cover your programs, but does Disney Inspire?
Yes. So, well, I say yes, but I caveat that. We have initial agreement. Disney's, what a great time. Disney came down to our facility. They are going to add our programs to the catalog at some point. The next iteration of the catalog will have our programs in it, I hope.
What about Florida prepaid?
We're working on that. We're working on that. So there's some things going on at the legislature in Tallahassee we're trying to work out. We'll see what happens.
Just curious, what's the 4-week program?
So the 4-week program was private security. So when we ran the private security program, it was 4 weeks. And that was you came out with your Class D license. So that's kind of on a hiatus right now as we refocus it. So my shortest program right now is 6 weeks. And that is my distribution operations associate. What that teaches how to manage a warehouse. It's in our logistics career field. Any other questions? Well, I thank everybody for their time, for their attention, and letting me talk. Thank y'all.